All right, welcome back to the scholarship offer system. In this module, we're going to cover the NCAA and the NAIA eligibility. So basically, we're just going to go over what you need in order to be eligible to play at the next level. And I just want to make sure we cover this as because it's one of the most important parts of the process. So the NCAA Eligibility Center, I'll probably be referring to them as EC from here on out. So if you hear me say EC or you hear me say, or you see it in one of these slides, just know that I mean Eligibility Center. It's just a lot to say, and EC is a lot simpler. So the NCAA EC certifies that college-bound athletes are eligible to play sports at the D1 and D2 levels. So that's what they do in a nutshell. So basically, what the NCAA EC does, they basically review the student athletes' academic records. That goes for your transcripts, your SAT, your ACT scores, your amateur status, and just to ensure that you're conforming with NCAA rules. Um, the NCAA doesn't want anyone that's being paid to play, and I guess they look at it as it won't be fair to the other athletes, which is understandable. So, with that being said, that's what they do in a nutshell. It goes into a little bit deeper, but that's all we need to know for right now. So, what the NCAA EC looks for. So, I want to dig into this just so we have an understanding of what's required. This is even before you can register for the eligibility center. So let's dig into that. So the NCAA for D1 and D2 schools, they require 16 core courses completed. So you could ask your guidance counselor or whoever helps put your schedule together for a list of NCAA approved courses, which you can take. They all have maybe a different layout or a different structure that might work for you. So I would suggest sitting down with them and coming up with a plan to get you eligible. So also remember that these requirements are not the same for D1 and D2 schools. So for the D1 schools, you have to have a minimum core GPA of 2.3. And when I say core, there's two different GPAs. We're just going to focus on the core GPA because this is the only one that matters. And well, it's not the only one that matters. It's the only one that matters to the eligibility center. So they want you to have a core GPA of 2.3. And remember that the NCAA doesn't really recognize pluses or minuses in the core GPA. So a lot of you guys with the 4.5s or 4.1s and all of that, just know that maybe the NCAA won't really notice it at all because they're not going to look at it. But going on to D2, they require a minimum core GPA of 2.2, and they have like a separate sliding scale for the ACT and SAT scores. So just keep that in mind as well because if you have maybe an 18 on on the ACT, your GPA might have to be at 3.5. It just depends. So I would definitely look into it, look that up, and see how the sliding scale is now. I believe it changes. But on to my next point. D1 expects 10 of the 16 core course requirements to be completed by the end of your junior year. So you have 6 semesters to complete 10 courses that they're looking for out of those 16. So if you, depending on when you're listening to this, hopefully I call some of you early. If not, some of you seniors and juniors, there's still hope. I'm pretty sure your guidance counselors can. They've done a great job of setting you up for success. But at the end of the day, this is what the Division One expects from you and your academics. So moving on, they also want you to have an ACT or SAT that matches your GPA on the NCAA sliding scale. Now I spoke about this earlier, well maybe yeah, just a couple seconds ago. So you can definitely look that up. There's a sliding scale website for the ACT and SAT scores that gives you a nice little chart breakdown of it. I'll be sure to link to it below below this video so you don't have to search for it. That what would I be good for if I didn't give you that? But yeah, I definitely want to give you that. And now I want to go over to how you register for the eligibility center, because all of this, they're not going to do it on their own. They want to put the ball in your court and let you do some of the work. So basically how you register for the eligibility center is go to this website right here, www.eligibilitycenter.org. Then you create your profile as an athlete. Parents, you can help your kids with this if you're watching along. And there's also a $90 fee. Now put that asterisk there because that fee can be waived. That $90 fee can be waived, but I believe it only can be waived by you being, I guess, able to accept the free lunch program, or you're enrolled in a federal free lunch program. I believe that's one of the main restrictions that pushes it through. If not, you may have to pay the $90 fee, which isn't too bad. Okay, here's just a couple of quick things to remember before we move on to the NAIA portion. So you can't take any official visits until you're registered with the EC and meet all those requirements. And your submitted documents won't be reviewed unless the NCAA school has you added on their IRL. Now, a lot of you probably wondering what's an IRL, never heard of it. So basically, what an IRL is, and it's a institute request list. This is basically a list of players that the school wants to recruit. So you definitely want to be on that. Make sure you're on that before you pay that $90, because if not, it'll be like a waste of time. And you'll be waiting and waiting and waiting. And one of the best ways to do that is by just reaching out to a coach that maybe you had a little bit of feedback with, or from, I'm sorry, a little bit of feedback from, and just ask them if you're on their and just ask them if you're on their IRL. They'll know what you're talking about. And typically, when you get put on this list, you'll begin. You'll normally start seeing interest from other schools. I like to think of it as I use the analogy of a restaurant. So there's two restaurants. One has no cars in front of it, and the other has 10 or 11 cars outside, and it's busy. So if we're on the road to go, we're just traveling and we're passing these restaurants, normally we would want to go where we see people eating at. That means there's something good going on. So if you drove by the empty restaurant and there are no cars, you wouldn't trust that restaurant. The people in that city know something that you don't. So basically, everyone's at the restaurant with the cars. And when you become listed on the IRL, it's like that first car has been put in front of the restaurant, has pulled up. It's something like social proof. So schools will begin to wonder, if this school wants to recruit him, let's take a look, recruit him or her. Let's take a look at them as well and see if they're interested in our school. And that's just one of the things that helps the recruiting process, is just simply being put on the IRL list, which is a great tool. I knew nothing about it until it was too late. I was already getting phone calls from other schools that had already committed. I was like, oh man, I didn't even know this was a thing. So you get to learn from my mistakes on that one. So okay, I'm sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there. Let's move along. So the NAIA Eligibility Center. So the NAIA EC certifies that college-bound athletes are eligible to play sports at the NAIA level. Plain and simple. Just like before. So for what the NAIA looks for, it's like you must have a 970 SAT score or better, 18 or better on your ACT, and you must have a minimum GPA of a 2.0, and you must graduate in the top half of your high school class. Now granted, with the NAIA, you're only required to meet 2 out of the 3. So however you break it down, as long as you get 2 out of those 3 that's right here in front of you, you should be good. And they do this because they believe that opportunities for athletic scholarships are very, very competitive, and just academic status alone is very competitive when it comes to getting into school. So they want to give you a little bit more wiggle room by letting you have the option of three things that you could choose from to hit. And most of you will probably be like, you can check all three off your list, which is a great thing. And they the NC oh, I almost forgot. You always want to have your test scores sent to the NAIA and the NCAA when you're taking your SAT and your SAT and your ACT. You could when you're taking your test, when you're filling out your information on where you want your scores to be sent, if you use the code 9876, this code will send your test scores to the NAIA Eligibility Center. And if you use the code 999, it'll send your test scores to the NCAA Eligibility Center. That's just one more small step that you have to take, but it works wonders, I promise. So basically, you have to register for the the NAIA as well. They're two different organizations. So you will register with the NAIA by going to this website, www.playnaia.org, and you follow the same steps as before, and you create your profile. You pay your $90 fee, and remember, this fee can be waived within the NAIA as well if you qualify for the federal free lunch program. So that's about it on the NAIA, and just wanted to recap a little bit. And we covered the rules for the NCAA Eligibility Center, Division One and Division Two. We didn't go over Division Three because normally Division Three schools don't give out athletic scholarships. They usually do like a mixture of merit and academic scholarships, which they try to find you some money there with them financial aid and all. So that's kind of why I left that out, because this is the scholarship offer system and we want to focus on getting those offers. But there's nothing wrong with going Division Three. I have a lot of friends that participated in Division Three sports and they loved it. They had the time of their lives and they wouldn't change it for the world. So we talked about the NAIA eligibility requirements and what they wanted out of you and what they expect, and you now have like a broad overview of basically what you need to have in place prior to registering. So you have to have your 10 out of the 16 core courses completed prior to your junior year, and if you happen to take some of these classes before your freshman year in high school, they should count towards your core GPA, and you should be good on that end, and you should have a little bit more breathing room. I know a lot of people take classes early now, which is good. And that's basically about it. I'll link everything down below. I'll link both websites to the ECs, and I'll also link that sliding scale below just so you have something to have to where you don't have to go digging for it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.